What are your impressions when you first met Scott Hall and Kevin Nash?
Well, Scott Hall I'd met in Florida in
Right.
'86 as Big Scott Hall. And it was gratifying to see guys who had started, because I know that he was in Minneapolis and then he went, here and then he ended up in Florida. So it was nice to see guys that had basically started at a lower level and had graduated to, to being world champions and millionaires and household names. So I had known Scott. I had heard a lot about Scott Hall and Kevin Nash being assholes, arrogant, egotistical, and Conan and Rey Mysterio were pretty tight with Kevin Nash. And the first time that I met Kevin, I was in Michigan, and I drove back from a town with Kevin, Rey Mysterio, and Conan, and I was just dumbfounded as to how smart Kevin Nash was. Not just about the business, but about life in general. And he impressed upon me his values as being a father, because he's got a son, and which his son is his whole life. So I was very, very impressed with Kevin as a person. But professionally, I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. You don't become a success in this business by an accident. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows what's hip. He knows what's over. He, as being Kevin Nash, is cool. He's hip. He can be cocky, he's arrogant, but he's so quick-witted and funny to be around. He's just hilarious. He's one of those guys, if you're sitting down having a beer with him, you just laugh your ass off all night. He's just hilarious.
What about Hulk Hogan? What was he like?
I mean, Hogan, when you meet the man, it's like, hi Hulkster, how are you? And I met him, and he was, for being the man that he is, which is the man in wrestling, he was very polite, courteous, went out of his way to say hello. It wasn't a guy that I spent an awful lot of time with, but it was nice to see that he was courteous enough to come over and acknowledge me.
Did you see a lot of politics in the locker room between Hogan, Hall, Nash, and Bischoff?
When I first started, there was like, you talk about cliques. They had like the Mexican clique,
right.
And you had the Steiner clique, which consisted of the Steiners, Buff Bagwell, Lex, Sting. Then you had nWo clique, which was Hall, Nash, and that little clique. Six Pack was still there, or X-Pac. Short was cliques there, because there were so many guys that had been there for a number of years, and obviously they all struck up friendships. They all maintained a certain level in the company, and they all protected each other, which is it's only natural, and it wouldn't only happen in that environment. It would happen in any environment. If you work for Sony, or if you work for CS Great Cruise Lines, whatever the company, once you strike up a relationship, you're going to take care of your friends.
How important was it to have a gimmick in WCW get over more than ability?
Oh man, that was it. I mean, that was the secret. When I started, I believe they had over 100 guys under contract, and if you weren't an established guy, a Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, it was very, very tough to differentiate yourself from the rest of the guys, because there were so many guys. Some of the guys were the shits, some of the guys were great workers, some of the guys were old, some of the guys were young, some of the guys had great physiques. It was just, you had a plethora of everything there. And I just felt at that time that in order to stand out, you had to come up with something, And I would try these stupid things, stupid dances and everything, and it was Scott Hall who took me aside and said, Norman, when you see a gimmick in the ring, that's just an extension of the person. So when you see Conan saying orderly and everybody, that's Conan. I mean, he's more streetwise than anybody I know. Scott Hall is Scott Hall. Ric Flair, the limousine riding and the girls, and that's Flair.
Right.
So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a jokester, and I may be black on the outside, but I got no rhythm. I got no rhythm, and so I just decided to come up with this thing to try and dance. Still incorporate the wrestling, because that was my base, and come up with something which later went on to become the Big Wiggle, which how can I say without being specific? I was a witness to Juventud Guerrero in a hotel room in Biloxi, Mississippi, doing the Wild Thing. That's all I said. So I just figured something like that would be funny to do in the ring. Minus one person.
Right. Now, when did you realize it started getting over?
the funniest thing is the strangest thing in wrestling is to do something for the first time in front of 15,000 people.
Right.
That takes balls of steel because everyone's like, what the hell is he doing? You know, so I'm doing this thing. Get back in the locker room, and Terry Taylor was one of the agents at that time, if not booking, I'm not sure. And I thought he was going to bitch me out, and he basically said, "What the hell were you doing out there?" So I told him, "I'm riding a horse." He said, "Riding a horse, bullshit." He goes, "But whatever it is, keep doing it. It's hilarious."
Huh.
So, and then the boys began to watch the monitor, and
Right.
And I would get back and get feedback from them, and they just thought it was hilarious too. And it wasn't until I was actually able to incorporate it into high spots, especially with smaller guys. If I wrestled, for example, like a Chavo Guerrero, I could get him to do something, boom, 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 end up in that wheelbarrow position, which the first time I did it was in a pay-per-view, and the place went nuts. It was just one of those things. I was like, this thing, Chavo, keep spanking me. So, it was one of those things that I just took a chance and tried it, and it clicked.
Why did WCW eventually stop making you do it?
Because of standards and practices. At that time, they came down on everything that anybody was doing that was quite questionable. Conan couldn't grab his crotch anymore. Rey Mysterio had his Bronco Buster that he was doing in the corner. He couldn't do that.
Right.
At the time, Perry Saturn was wearing a dress. He put the dress over the guy's head and punched him. He couldn't do that. So, which was different to me was that Kevin Sullivan told me that I wasn't able to wrestle because he felt that if they put me in the ring to wrestle and I didn't do the wiggle, that it would kill me, which in a way he was right. But the rest of the guys could still wrestle. So at that time I was living in Mexico, and I still had to fly to the States each week, whether it was Chicago, here in Philly, New York, wherever, to attend all the house shows, all the Nitros, all the Thunders. And basically I'd fly in just for a free meal and go shopping because I wasn't allowed to work. Then somebody had the great idea of that I could tease the wiggle, because sometimes I just, I'd get in position and pump up the fans, and then the guy would come and stop me, or I would change my mind. And then they even took it further than that I could actually do the wiggle, but they would only take from my chest up,
Right.
which was defeated the purpose of doing it. So,
Do you think that you had a glass ceiling of how far you'd get pushed in WCW?
yeah. Especially with that gimmick, because as I was telling Carlos and Fernando here, it was, you tired? I knew at that time with that particular gimmick that there was only so far that I could go, because I couldn't see myself doing the wiggle to Goldberg or Sting.
Right.
You know what I mean? There were certain guys that I felt that, guys that I wrestled, guys that I could have wrestled, that if I was to do it, that they would get hot, or they wouldn't like it, or they would insist that I not do it, just for to protect their name or to protect their image. It was silly, because I just feel that a wrestling match is two guys working together for the match, and if you got an image that you want to try and protect, or your ego, or this doesn't fit your character, you're working against the grain of putting a match together.
So what was your plan basically when you figured this out?
Well, what had happened was that I saw that they were releasing a lot of guys. They released Virgil at that time. I remember Brian Knobbs went, Jerry Flynn, a lot of guys that were coming for the TV tapings. They were no longer hiring those guys. So I knew that there was something that I had to do to keep my job. So I figured, the wiggle and the screaming thing, that it was better to do that and have a job than be macho and not have a job. So I just decided to keep on screaming and keep on doing the wiggle.
As far as the locker room, how was it run compared to other companies that you worked for?
In all the companies I've worked for, and I would guess this would apply across the board, the stars, the guys that are bringing in the money, have different rules than the guys that are jobbers or the guys at the bottom of the totem pole. That's in any job. I've never worked for the WWF, but I hear that Rock gets changed in the same room as all the other guys in Triple H and Austin. And then I heard a report, somebody told me, no, Triple H just drops his bag off there, but he goes and gets changed in a different room with Vince. But, the stars are always able to get away with a little bit more. In Mexico it happened, in Japan it happened, and in World Championship Wrestling it happened too. We had a showtime where we had to be in the building at 2, guys were showing up at 4:30, at 5 o'clock, and some guys would just get a smack on the wrist. Some guys would, nothing would happen to them. It was like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Okay, we got this clued up for you. So
Bret Hart was notorious for that, correct?
let's get started. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys were. Some guys would justify it by saying that they had to train and they had to tan, and they weren't just out sleeping or shopping, but they were working on their body to look better for the show. But I just think rules are rules, and if one guy had to be there at 2 o'clock, all the guys should. But different rules for different strokes for different folks, as I say. Yeah.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.